Hey gamers, I'm Cybersnack7. Hope we're all well, guys. Back again at last with another video. Another 2-week absence from the tubes, guys. And I've just been feeling a bit down and a bit deflated and no motivation to do videos, to be honest with you. But I've got no reason to feel like it. I'm still on furlough, still got no work. I'm getting paid for sitting on my ass. So I thought to myself, what am I doing? Why am I being like I am? Get up off your ass and start doing something with yourself. So that's exactly what I'm doing. And this is going to be one of, hopefully, a few videos I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks. And of course, this is the long delayed third part of my NTSC Super Nintendo video collection. And 49 more games to show you guys. And that'll be the complete set of everything I own. I'm going to include the new titles that I recently picked up as well, just to remind you guys of course, what I picked up over the last few months. And that'll be up to date then with every single game that I have on the NTSC format. So, don't know how long this is going to be, guys. So, I think I should just crack on with it. And let's carry on where we left off. Now, if you haven't watched the other two, I'm going to change the thumbnail on them, on the videos, so you know exactly which ones they are, because I'm going to give this a new thumbnail as well. So if you haven't watched them, guys, go back and enjoy as much as I enjoyed making them. So let's crack on. And the game we left it on was this one, which is Virtual Bart. One of two Simpson games that I have. This one I never intentionally wanted to get, to be honest with you, but it's still a cracking little title. A lot more expensive on the Mega Drive, the Japanese Mega Drive, than it is on the Super Nintendo. But a crazy game. You are Bart, of course, and you get stuck in a VR machine, which has obviously a number of levels you've got to enter into and complete to escape the VR machine. But they are crazy levels. You've got like prehistoric levels where you're a dinosaur. You've got levels where you're going down a water tube, a slingshot level. All 3D kind of like trying to be a virtual reality sort of thing. But it's not a bad game for what it is. I wouldn't say it's the greatest game I've ever played by any means, but still a nice little title, and definitely one of the two Simpsons games I'd have in the collection regardless. But that's the first game, guys, and that's Virtual Bart. Okay, the next game is, of course, the next and the only other game I'd have in the collection of the Simpsons series, and that's, of course, The Simpsons Bart's Nightmare. Now, this is a cracking little game. I loved this game back in the day when I was a kid. Absolutely played this to death. I did get to the end, but I didn't complete it. And this is a rebuy because I actually got rid of this. And it's a crazy little game. The premise is, of course, you just you fall asleep as you're doing your own work, but you lose all your homework, and you've got to try and collect it as you're going through the levels, each level you play, to get an A at the end of it. But it ain't going to be that easy, because this game is not an easy game to play. Finding that out recently when I put it on after a while of not playing it, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out what I had to do. I just totally couldn't figure it out. So I had to go on YouTube to find out how to play this thing again. It's stupid. Regardless of the fact when I was younger I could play it and really enjoyed it and knew what I was doing, nowadays just shows you how out of touch I am playing with Super Nintendo games. Still a cracking little title though. Some fantastic little levels. You know, where Godzilla, you got to climb your building, get to the top and get to Homer, who's King Kong. It's itchy and scratchy levels. They are bizarre, trippy levels, which are based off the TV show itself. But still, fantastic game. Definitely one of the better Simpsons games I've played. So that is Simpsons Bart's Nightmare. Right, onto some racers. Now, the first one is an absolute classic. Absolutely love this top-down, semi-top-down racing game with some classic rock tunes. And if you haven't played this, you need to. And this is, of course, the classic rock and roll racing. Absolutely fantastic title. This is some proper music. Paranoid from Black Sabbath. And you got Born to Be Wild from Steppenwolf and more, basically. Some proper good rock tunes and a cracking little racing game. As I say, top-down racing game, semi-top-down racing game. Some great little speech in there from a commentator. Can get a bit annoying after the time, but still you just put up with it because the game itself is such a good game. But cracking little title where you got to go from planet to planet, build up your car, build up everything on the car you can, tyres, power, engine, weapons. But it is such a fantastic 1 and 2 player game. And definitely one game I definitely advise anybody to pop into the collection. Such a cracking racing title anyway. But anyway guys, that is without a doubt one of the better titles racing wise, and that's Rock and Roll Racing. And in the same vein as that, which is the same semi top down view, and it's a bit of an underrated title I think this is, and I really do like it. And if you've never played this one, totally advise it. And this is of course Boyka Mice from Mars. Now this is an absolute great top down racing game, as you can see. Same familiar gameplay as Rock and Roll Racing, but of course all the characters are from the Boyka Mice from Mars universe. And if you've never played this, or you've ever watched cartoons, great cartoon back in the early days, love this cartoon. And of course the game is a really good game, very leveled. All the characters are all quite level, so you know you've got an even, whatever character you have, they're all fairly even, and you can get a decent game out of this. But as I say, it's a cracking little title, peculiar title at that, but it does really play well, and one that I definitely advise to pop into your collection if you haven't got this. And this is a game off my good friend, one of many I had, of course, Pete SNES-tastic, and still here, Pete, and played and really loved and enjoyed, mate, trust me. So that is the classic Boyka Mice from Mars. And the next one don't need no introduction. It's Super Mario Kart. Everybody knows this. This is probably still my favourite Super Mario Kart. There are people who beg to differ, and there are people who are going to say other Mario Karts are better. For me, this personally is my favourite, always has been, always will be. And it is possibly probably the harder ones, the hard Mario Karts, I think. Now, I'd never be able to do it now. Back in the day, I was good at it. I actually really enjoyed it and played it well. But nowadays, I'd be terrible at it. But still, an absolute staple game to have in your collection. One you must own. And it's an iconic racing game. So that's the classic Super Mario Kart. Now, the one that started it all for me, but obviously on the PAL format, when I very first got my Super Nintendo, my PAL one, this is the game that I got, and this is probably one of the most iconic games. I'll always hold up and say, this is what got me into the Super Nintendo. And it's, of course, the classic F-Zero. This game is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely love this racing game. The music, for me, is a memory in itself. Absolutely iconic soundtrack. Some great characters. Love to have seen a sequel. I know there is a unofficial sequel out there to this, but to be honest, I've got to say, I think each incarnation of this game of F-Zero, I think, has been really good. The N64 was good. The GameCube was absolutely amazing. Absolutely love that version. I would love to see a revamp of the F-Zero series. This needs one, to be honest with you, because this would work absolutely amazing on the Switch, or obviously the PlayStation, any new age console. This would work wonders on, because as I say, the GameCube version was absolutely superb. But to see this again brought back to life would be fantastic. But this is where it started for me, guys. This is the game that got me into the Super Nintendo, and I always put this on and will always play this and enjoy this game, and that is the classic F-Zero. Next one is not a bad game. This is very first played this. I'm sure this is like on an Amiga title. Don't get me wrong, I might be incorrect, but it just reminds me of an Amiga racing style game. And that's of course Top Gear. And as you can see, it's like this is Top Gear, and you can have two players. I think, I'm not too sure how this works. I think it actually plays like that, where your car's at the top and you race the other people at the bottom. I think this just looks like a split screen permanently. I've literally played this once. I've never really played it that much, but I've heard Top Gear 2 is a better game. So I still will be investing in that. And there is a third one in the series, which I've not come across yet, but I will try and pick them up in future. But it's still not a bad title, but definitely reminds me of an Amiga game. So I'm sure this was an Amiga game, but definitely looks like a style of an Amiga game anyway. I can't think of the actual titles. Lotus, I think it's Lotus on the Amiga. Very familiar to the Lotus games. on the Amiga, but still fantastic title regardless. Not played enough, so I need to get my arse into gear and play that a little bit. So that's Top Gear. The next one didn't stand the test of time. It was great when I bought it. One of the FX Super FX chip games, and at the time it was great. And that is, of course, Stunt Racer Fx. Really enjoyed this back in the day. As I say, this hasn't stood the test of time, and reliving this game, going back and playing it again, it really doesn't play well at all. It's a shame because the concept and the idea was good, but the actual trying to play this game again, the control systems are terrible on it. I find it really terrible to play, but still at the time groundbreaking through the FX chip and the graphics that and you know the capabilities I had for the system at the time. But as I say, it's not stood the test of time very well, and it was great at the time, but not a racer I'd pick up and play regularly nowadays, unfortunately. So that is Stunt Racer Fx. And then the next one is, of course, the sequel to that one, which is Bomberman 2. Super Bomberman 2 to be precise. Now obviously these were the only two that come out in North America. I'm not too sure if they got any more. I know Europe got Bomberman 3. I think after that there was only Japanese, where it's 4, 5 and 6. But I know North America only got 1 and 2. But regardless of that, still two fantastic titles. Love a bit of Bomberman every now and again. And now I've got the multi-tap, of course, with the big box set. Of course, I can play this multi-tap and 1 to 4 players anytime I wanted to be honest with you. But still, just as good as the original. No difference, you know. Bomberman's Bomberman at the end of the day to me. But still, a great game to have, a great multiplayer game to have if you've got people around. Definitely one to get in the collection, and I really do enjoy this game. So that's Super Bomberman 2. Moving on to some shooters, and this is an absolute classic. I played this a hell of a lot last year when Alex did his high school challenge, and it made me sit through and complete this game again, which I'd never thought I'd ever do. But playing it and reliving this game, it's such an iconic shooting game. It's just fantastic, and I'm talking about Axelay. Absolutely fantastic game. This is one of its own. Never to be repeated game, unfortunately. Never got a sequel. And as I say, the style of gameplay where you had the forward gameplay is original. You'd never seen anything like it. And then you had your side-scrolling levels. It's definitely a mixed variant game, but each level was on its own level. And it's like amazing graphics, absolutely iconic music in this. And so going back and reliving this last year, playing this a hell of a lot, I really enjoyed it. And definitely one of the top shooters on the system for sure. So that's the classic Axelay. Next one, another great game I had when I was a kid, and a very difficult game at that. Just when I played this again, got to be like mid last year, I've just remembered how hard this game actually was, and it is the classic UN Squadron. Great side-scrolling action shooter, and this is an easy. Obviously, you got 3 planes you can choose from, 3 fighters, all different styles. You just basically build up your plane with special weapons and bombs for each level, which you buy from a shop after doing each level. And then you get a level you got to complete or get through without really getting any energy taken away from you, and then beating the final boss. And like you got to push back the forces. I can't remember the name of the actual evil. Oh, the Project 4, the evil Project 4 they are. And your team of 3 have got to push them back, because you got like a radar map, and you got to push them back to where they basically belong. But trying to do that isn't easy, because the bosses in this are major hard, really big bosses, really difficult to beat. And as I say, you've got to really get through all the levels with conserving as much energy and not using any specials at all if you can help it, to try and get anywhere. I've got close to the end. I've never actually completed this, which is a real shame. But such a fantastic game. Absolutely classic old school side-scroll shooter. And it's, of course, UN Squadron. Now this one is much preferred on the Super Famicom. I haven't yet got it because it does cost quite a bit of money. The only drawback of this is the music, but you'll know what I'm talking about when I show you this one, which is Biometal. Great game, balls hard, absolutely balls hard game this is, and it's one of these games you really got to persevere with. I'm not great at shooters regardless, but still I know when this is a hard game, and it's a damn hard game. I'm just about to get off the first level. Now, as I say, gameplay brilliant, but the music on this, for some bizarre reason, they put 2 Unlimited, if you can see that, 2 Unlimited, that early 90s, like, oh, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work, and it ruins a perfectly good game. That's why, to me, if I was, well, I'm definitely going to get it one of the days, is when you buy the Super Famicom variant of this, it's brilliant music, the whole new soundtrack, the way it should have been released anyway in the first place, but for some bizarre reason they decided to add these like 80s whatever it was, 2 Unlimited to the soundtrack, and it just ruins the game. It's a hard game nevertheless, but if I could play this with turning the music off, it'd be even better. But apart from the music, cracking game, but balls hard, but still a great game to own, and that's Biometal. Next one, not the best R-Type in the series by any means, but still a cracking addition to the collection, and that is Super R-Type. Great bosses, great levels, suffers from a bit of slowdown on this. It does slow down quite a bit, unfortunately, when there's too much on the screen, but still not a bad addition to the R-Type series. R-Type 3 is easily the better game. I don't own R-Type 3. I have it as third lightning on the Super Famicom. But this one I did pick up a while ago. I didn't really pay that much for it either. I think I paid about 25 quid at the time, and it's in absolutely pristine condition, of course. But yeah, a great title to have, great title to play, but as I say, it suffers from slowdown a little bit, which is a shame. But still a worthy shooter to have into the collection, and that is Super R-Type. Next one, a decent, pretty decent side-scrolling action shooter again, and that is Choplifter 3. Great little title this is. Everybody knows how to play Choplifter, but this one has the added bonus of actually when you're completing levels, you do have end-of-level bosses. And I've only ever got to the second boss, and it's not an easy task to beat. Still a cracking little title. You know the premise of it, go and rescue the prisoners. And don't get shot down, bring them back safely, and then you have an end-of-level boss on each level. For the Super Nintendo, not a bad title at all. As I say, it is quite expensive on the Super Famicom. I've just found this out. I didn't realise how expensive it was, and it's obviously much better artwork than what you got here, but still great to have this. Don't come across this that often, to be honest. And still a great title, a good play, definitely worth having, and that's Choplifter 3. Another Super FX title. Now this one, I'm going to be totally honest with you, I think I played it for about 5 minutes. Not my style of... well, I thought it was going to be another Star Fox, put it that way, but it didn't end up that way, and I just kind of didn't get it. It just didn't bond with me, basically, so I just really didn't play it. And that is Vortex. Obviously, it's the same style. You're a robot, you can transform into different ships and things, and I thought, yeah, there's a bit of Star Fox there, I kind of get it, but I didn't, and I didn't really gel with the game. Obviously, this was bought years ago, so I've had it, and I've tried it a number of times to really get into this game and understand it, and I just couldn't. It just didn't appeal to me in the slightest, which is a shame, because it has potential. I'll probably give it another go again, I will. Because there's something about this game that draws me back to it, and I keep on looking at it again. You know, there's potential. It needs to be played, but when I play it, I lose interest too quickly, unfortunately. But still, a game I'm glad I've got, because it's part of the FX Super FX chip games, and that's Vortex. I will give that another go. Right, next game is a Taito, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, a classic, and that is Darius Twin. Not the easiest of shooters, these Darius games. especially this one. This is blooming rock hard, but I'm no good at shooters, so I can say that over and over again as many times as I like. But still, well, happy to have it. Really difficult game. This is Darius Twin. I don't know whereabout this is in the series because there's a lot of Darius games. But simultaneously 2-player action as well, which is, I didn't realise. Play 2 players at the same time. That's quite good. But I haven't got 2 players to play anyway, regardless. But still, fantastic little title. I'm rubbish at it, but I'm rubbish at most shooters. But still a great title to have. And that's Darius Twin. The next one is a Darius game. I did know the other title for the Famicom and I totally forgot it. Because it is a Darius game in Japan, but over in the US, they named it Supernova. Sorry about the glare, guys. There you go. Named it Supernova. And this is yet again another Darius title in the collection. And this one is just as difficult. And of course, you can see it has the paths, A, B, and C paths you got to go through. So there's varied ways through the game. So there's lots of playability to go back to over and over again. But as I say, Darius games, to me, yet again, shooters, and they're very, very difficult. And I just don't get on with them. I do try my damnedest to get somewhere, but I can't. I'm blooming useless at it. But still, regardless, well happy to have it. Anybody knows the name of Supernova on the Famicom, drop it down in the old box and let me know, because I can't remember what it is. But there you go. That is Supernova. The next one, another shooter. I'm kind of okay at, but still useless at the same time, and that is Gradius 3. Another cracking little title. I'm not too sure if Gradius is. There's so many different Nemesis and Gradius. I don't know if it's the same part of the same universe. I'm not too sure, but still, it reminds me of like a Salamander kind of level game. I might be totally wrong. You know, I'm no shooting expert, but still, it's a very good title, very difficult title. Probably one of the better out of the 3 I've just showed you. I'd rather play this than Supernova, to be honest with you, and the Darius games. But still, really classic little game. Some nice little bosses in this. I have got somewhere in this I can actually... I think if I enjoy the game more, I'll probably progress better because I enjoy the game. If you enjoy the game, you're going to play it more, aren't you? But still, well, happy to have it. Great little shooter, and one I'm glad to have in a collection. So that is Gradius 3. Now this one ain't really put a lot of time in, but I've had this a long time, and it's not a bad little game, and I really do need to put some more time into it. It's not the greatest game, made by Atlas, and that is of course Blazion. Now this one of course is another side-scrolling shooter. But I think you can change from a mech into a plane. If I'm correct, I ain't played this in such a long time. And I really haven't given this much of a chance, to be honest. I should really sit down and give this a go. Blow the old cart off. I know they're all clean anyway, but blow the cart off, stick it in and give it a go. No harm in doing that. I've got plenty of time off. But yeah, it's one of them games I've had in the collection and I've never really dedicated any time to, unfortunately, which is a shame. But I say I've had this a while now, and graphically it's really quite good. I'm not too sure if it slows down or anything, or if it's going to slow down problems with it, but I think I should give this a go and then get back to you and let you know what this one's like. But still, very happy to have it in the collection, and that is Blazion. This one I got last year sometime, and I got it for dirt cheap. I mean, it ain't in the greatest condition, but it's still boxed, and it's a condition I can live with. But it's the maddest cover for a shooting game in history. The Super Famicom kills it. It's much, much better. I'd love that. But this one is just bought for nostalgia, the fact of how bad the cover is. And we're talking Phalanx. What he's doing on there, playing a banjo, is beyond anybody's guess. If anybody can explain that cover to me, put it down below. Tell me what that has to do with a shooter. Love to know. Absolutely love to know. But the shooter itself isn't a bad shooter. Played it a few times actually, and it is better than the cover suggests it is. But still, very happy to have it. Thankfully I picked this up dirt cheap. It weren't the most expensive game I've ever bought, believe me. But still, great little shooter. the cover alone is just value for money as far as I'm concerned, because it just does not make any sense whatsoever. But there you go. That's the cracking little, well, it is a pretty decent shooting game, and that's Phalanx. Next one, the name has gone from my memory, but this had a different name in Europe. I cannot for the life of me think of it, so yet again guys, pop it down below if you know it. But in the US they called it Firepower 2000, and this is a very difficult top-down shooter. Of course you can be a helicopter, or you can be a little tank. And I've got to the first boss of this game, and for the life of me, Super Swiv, I knew I'd remember it, Swiv, that's what this game's called in Europe, but it's called Firepower 2000 over in the US. And this game is rock hard. I cannot get past the first boss. I don't know how to kill it. I've got no clue. It's a bit weird because obviously when you start, you can be the tank, but it's difficult to figure out how you can select the helicopter. And I think you got to hold start and select, and then you're able to select the helicopter. It's just not standard. Do you want the helicopter or do you want the tank? You have the tank mandatory, but if you want the helicopter, you've got to do button presses to select it, which is weird. But still, again, you can still see it's part sealed. It's still part sealed. I've never took it out of its seal, but still cracking little game. Really difficult. But I had this back on the PAL Super Nintendo back in the day, Super Swiv. But this is Firepower 2000, and it's just as blooming hard, and I can't get anywhere in it. So there you go, guys. That's Firepower 2000. And the next game, an all-time classic. I'll play this over and over again. Definitely the FX game of choice, without a doubt. Love the music. One of the best soundtracks in any game. Such a cracking little shooter, and it's where it all started from. And when I bought this back in the day, I paid £100, and then I paid like £25 for the adapter to play this on my PAL Super Nintendo. And that was, of course, this one, which is Star Fox, or in the UK, Starwing. But for me, Star Fox, it's always has been, because this is the original version that I bought back in the day when I bought Star Fox. Never got rid of it. Such an iconic game, absolute classic game. This is one to put on, and you want nostalgia. This is it. Just comes back in droves when I play this game. Of when I first bought this game, I can remember putting it in, playing it with my mates and my cousin round and things like that. I love this title, and I play it over and over again. I still play it today. It's still a good little pick up and play game, and trying to find out. I found out all the secrets in it, the pinball level and things like that. And it's I don't know. It's just an iconic Super Nintendo game. If you're into your Super Nintendo, this is one you're going to pick up and say, yeah, I remember playing this. I remember getting this game, and you should still enjoy this game really, because it's still playable now. Really, really is. So, well, happy to own that, and such an iconic game for me. That's Star Fox. Now, this one is an unofficial release, but it is an actual full game at last. And it's the sequel to Star Fox, and that is Star Fox 2. Sorry about the glare. And this one I had off Retro Dave a good couple of years ago now. And I can't remember. Time Walk Games, this is from. If anybody remember Time Walk Games, they did do some nice one-off reproduction games, and this of course is a reproduction, and I think this is the red cart variant that I have, because what they did, they used Doom carts and then obviously put Star Fox 2 in the Doom cart and then change the label and all that, and this is a red cart variant, I think, if I can remember, because I took it out of the box for a long time. Still a cracking little game, full game. It's not bad. Obviously you've got the fact that you can change your ship now into like 2 or 3 different shapes, a mech and something else, all according on where you are within the game itself, because you just got space levels. You got levels where you land on the planet and you got to go into bases and things like that. So, you know, it's a short game, a lot shorter than the original, but still a cracking little addition. And you know, it's the game that never got an official release, but to get this and to have a full sequel, realistically, yes, and it's never been bettered, because obviously the other Star Fox games, the only other Star Fox game I actually like is Star Fox Assault. Apart from that, the rest, nah, don't flow for me. But still, nice to have a true Super Nintendo sequel, and that is Star Fox 2. Next one. I like this game, but it's the music, and after turning music off, and some people said to me, why don't you like the music? I just don't know what it is. I put this game, but I love this game, but I hate the music in it. I've just never liked it. And speaking about Doom, the card that they used, it is Doom, and this is another FX chip special. And the game itself plays great. It really is. It plays quite well for a Super Nintendo game, but for some reason, the music grinds my gears. I just don't like it whatsoever. I've never got on with the music in this game. And don't ask me why, I couldn't tell you. I have to switch it off, really do. But everybody knows Doom. Absolute classic title. Regardless of what format you have it on. Of course, I'd say probably, if you want it the real deal, probably the PS1 version was probably the better version to play at the time. But still, to get this on a Super Nintendo cart, I was well happy with it, and still am. Apart from the music, not for me. But still, there you go, guys. That is the classic Doom, and that's a Super FX chip game. Another one to the collection. Right. Okay. Drink time. What are we on? 31 minutes. I told you this would be a long one. Right, let's move them out of the way. We'll come to them in a bit, if we've got time, which I doubt very much. So, moving on. And we shall move on to here, which is this one. Another early game, another classic title. You either love it or you hate it, but I really enjoyed this game. Now, it's Pilot Wings. Really, really good game. I don't think I've ever done a mission. I've done 1 or 2 missions on it, because if you do them all, and you obviously after that you get an actual mission where you're a helicopter and you've got to do a final rescue mission. It like kind of becomes dark. It's kind of this dark universe opens up. It's kind of weird, but still, it's cracking for like, it's like a simulator. You skydive, you hang glide, you fly a plane, and what else do you do? Oh, I think you jetpack as well. You jetpack as well. But you got to do all these missions perfectly, and then it unlocks a secret mission, and then you get this dark universe open. You got to be a helicopter and fly around. And I don't know what the mission is. I just watched a YouTube video years ago about it. But still, cracking game. Definitely one I wouldn't get rid of, and easily the best version of Pilot Wings. Ain't been touched since, definitely, without a doubt. But there you go, guys. That's Pilot Wings. Right, next one. We'll just do the bottom row first. Well, no, we won't. We'll do here. We'll do here. Let's get these right like this. Because if I put these here like that, then I know where I am. So we'll do these 3 next. Now this one is, without a doubt, one of the best side-scrolling beat-em-ups on the Super Nintendo. End of. And that is, of course, Batman Returns. Absolutely brilliant side-scrolling action game. Graphically, music is to die for. Just an absolute brilliant representation of the Batman film, Batman Returns. In fact, this is so much better than the film. I'd play this all day long. The film wasn't great, to be honest with you, but this game is absolutely awesome. Another one that was in the challenge last year with Alex, Nintendo Arcade. Just have to get as far as you can, and I think I got to the burning building. I think like most of us did. But this is one tough game. Now, back in the day, I did it on all the levels, even the top level, because you do get different endings for the higher settings you do. But the last level was tough. You get to Catwoman and she just kicks your ass, seriously. But still, what a title. And as I say, yet again, a fantastic soundtrack. Definitely a keeper for any Super Nintendo collector. Definitely one to get without a doubt. And that's the classic Batman Returns. Excuse me. Right. Next one is 1 or 2 games. Great top-down shooters. This one is definitely better than its sequel. But this plays well on any format you play it on. And that is, of course, the classic Super Smash TV. Couldn't read it then. Super Smash TV. Cracking little top-down arcade romp. It is such a brilliant little title. Obviously, you're in a TV show. Loaded of secrets in there. I think there's one. If you collect it, you got to collect certain keys. And then you open a secret boss at the end. I know that is true. But I've never actually seen it done. Because I've never got through this game myself. It's such a hectic game. This is definitely one of these games you got to play with 2 players without a doubt to appreciate this game. It's great for a while on your own, but it just gets too damn difficult. But still a cracking little arcade sim, and it plays brilliantly on the Super Nintendo, and that is Super Smash TV. And then the next one, of course, is its sequel, which is nowhere near as good, and that is Total Carnage. Same format sort of thing, top-down view, but it just doesn't feel or doesn't play like the original in any way, shape or form. I don't know. It's yet again, it's one of these games that I tried it and expected too much from it, and it just didn't give me what I wanted. So I only played it a few times, and I didn't really give it much love after that. So probably one of these games it's worth sticking on again, just to give it a second chance and give it a real go. But it'll never beat the original Smash TV. But still, it's good to have the sequel at last, and it'll never leave the collection. So that's Total Carnage. Right. And then moving on. We'll keep them there. We'll start them there. Right, so next one. Next one. This apparently was the last Super Nintendo game to be released on the US format. That's where I think, I'm sure. And that is Wario Woods. And that is just like a Tetris style of game. Nothing fancy. You know, not the greatest game in the world. I think I've probably played this once, because obviously I'm not into these sorts of games, but still it's a Wario game / kind of Mario-esque world, so had to be had. And as I say, I'm assuming, and I think I'm right in saying that this was one of the last Super Nintendo games to be released. But there you go. Not much to say about this apart from it's Wario Woods, and it's a Tetris sign of game. Nah, not my thing, but still not going anywhere. Okay, these next 2 games, I'll put them in order because that's the way it should be. Next 2 games, I had these back in the day and I rebought them back because there's a bit of nostalgia about them. Don't think I'd sit there and play them again nowadays. I wouldn't by any means, but still nice to have. And this one is, of course, Mario's Missing. And these are 1 or 2 games where you're on the search. This one, Luigi, is in the search for Mario, but you got to go all across the globe, find clues, talk to a lot of people, and you know, it's one of them, search the whole world to try and find Mario. And I don't think I've ever completed it, but I know I had it back in the day, but I just wanted this one and the next one I'm going to show you back in the collection, specifically because the bit of nostalgia for me, I had them back in the day, so it's all right for what it was. Something I'd never sit down and spend time on nowadays, but still never going anywhere. So that is Mario's Missing. And the next one, of course, it follows the same sort of thing, but this one is Mario's Time Machine. And this one, of course, you're Mario and you go through time. Not too sure what happens in this one. Travel through time with Mario. It's basically a learning adventure. So as you go through time, you learn about history. Simple as that. And if you're into history, fair play to you. Me, I used to be when I was a kid back at school, but not nowadays. You know, I love anything about World War II and all that. But apart from that, no. But this, yeah, you go back in time and you learn some good stuff about the past, if you're into it. But as I say, yet again, one of them nostalgic games I had back in the day, and I thought, yeah, it's got to add it back to the collection. And any Super Nintendo game is a good Super Nintendo game when it comes into this collection. So there you go, guys. That is Mario's Time Machine. Right, next one. cheapest chips. This is classic though. Everybody's played Super Space Invaders. Multiple formats of Space Invaders, 1 player, 2 player, all different colour variants of it. You know, there's, you name it. It's and there's a bonus versus mode on here as well. And this game wasn't it wasn't dear, probably about 20 quid I paid for this, brand new. But still, when you want a quick fix, Space Invaders, guys, you can't go wrong. And especially on the Super Nintendo. Enough says. So there you go, guys. That is Super Space Invaders. Now the next one. This is another one I had off good old Pete SNES-tastic. And I know full well this was his last game he ever bought. Because I wanted this game. Specifically because this was his last game he ever bought. And this ain't a bad platformer. I really have to agree and admit that. I really do like this game. And it's Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City. And this is not a bad platforming game at all. It really, really is a good platform game. If you've never played it and you're on the fence about it, give it a go. Honestly, it's really good. Good platform, good like puzzle element to it. And I think if I can remember, you've got to literally rescue your fellow basketball players. But it is such a good little title. You know what I mean? I'm really, really happy to have had this off Pete. Not expecting what I was receiving, to be honest with you. It was pretty good. So well happy to own that one. And as I say, this was Pete's last one he officially bought for his collection. So great little title, a good little platformer. And that's Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City. Next one, another classic arcade game. I do want the championship edition of this. I've seen it. I was gonna get it like about 2-3 months ago. I just ain't bothered since. I will get it though, and I do really want to play this game again. I just got an urge to. And that is, of course, NBA Jam. Classic 3-on-3 basketball game. Some classic iconic basketball characters from back in the 90s and early 80s, of course. Or late 80s, should I say. But absolutely cracking game this was. I absolutely love this. When this came out, this was big, this game was. I love the arcade machine. And to get this and a great conversion, of course, on the Super Nintendo, well happy with this. But yes, there is a championship edition I do want to get, and I will be getting that very soon, as soon as I can get some money in the pocket. But there you go, guys. Classic arcade game, NBA Jam. Next one, another. This is actually some people prefer this over Pac-Man. I don't think it's a pretty decent game. And it is, of course, Miss Pac-Man. And this is 36 wild and crazy mazes for more fun than ever. So it's 36 different mazes in it. And I think Mrs. Pac-Man isn't a bad Pac-Man game. Another quick fix arcade classic. For when you got 10 minutes on your hands. Definitely worth a crack. And it's a brilliant little title. I didn't pay through the nose for this one either. When I very first got this, I actually thought it was fake. But he, obviously from the boy who did contact me and tell me, and I think he actually done a comment on a video when I got this, going back a couple of years. He actually said that this was official. It's just the way it's the packaging for it. But I do believe, and this is official. But still, nice little game. Cracking one to the collection. Good quick fix arcade game. And that is Mrs. Pac-Man. Next one. Definitely one of the better tennis games, if not the best tennis game on here, without a do. Classic title this is. And that is, of course, Super Tennis. Absolutely fantastic title this is. One of the early ones, one of the first releases for the Super Nintendo. Great 1- and 2-player game. And absolutely love the tournament mode on this. Really, really is good. Always a game I can go back to. Not many tennis games I can say that. I can go back and play it over and over again, but this one definitely. Absolute classic, guys. And definitely one, no doubt, a majority of us have got in our Super Nintendo collection, but definitely worth playing again and again and again, and that is Super Tennis. Right. Okay, so next one is, there are 2 of these, but I only ever got the first one, and it's just another cheapest chips game. It's not really, a big spend, and that is F1 ROC or Rock, and this is a Formula 1 game. It's not bad. It's a worthy little racing game. There was Rock 2, F1 Rock 2 that come out. I never bothered getting that one. But this one, as I say, it's just one of these games I've seen for cheap and fantastic conditions. That's what I'll do it for sometimes. I buy a game, not solely on the game, because of the condition. And once I've got it, I know I can keep it like it. You know what I mean? It's not going to leave the collection. And I'm going to keep these games as pristine as possible. It's just like a bit of an archive for me. That's what I look at it nowadays. Not just great games in there. There are a couple of duds, but they're just games that I want to keep and keep in the best condition possible, so I can keep them for whoever owns them next. It's as simple as that. But there you go. Not a bad little racing game. Seen better, but as I say, worthy for about 20 quid anyway. So that's F1 Rock or F1 ROC. Right, next one was a movie. I actually kind of like this movie. The game isn't great, but I always wanted it just looking at the screenshots. And it is The Rocketeer. Now, this game is only 4 levels. You've got the racing you're playing. You've got the cockpit where you are, it's like a shootout. You'd be hiding, it's like duck and cover game. You've got the flying game, and then you get to the Zeppelin at the end, and you've got to take the Zeppelin out. And the game repeats itself over and over again. But still, it follows the film in some sort of fashion, but I love the film itself. I thought the film was great. The game, unfortunately, doesn't come across and play and give you the excitement of the film, unfortunately. But still, it's a worthy little title. And let's say I picked that up cheap, and that was I'm sure that it did. It had a little bit of as you can see on the side, a little bit creasing, but I thought at the time, you know what I mean, I'm happy with it. Give it a bit of an iron. There you go, job done. Looks all right in the cover, but still good game. Not the greatest movie tie-in ever, but I like the game and I like the movie more. But still, great to have it. There you go, The Rocketeer. Right, another game. Now this game, I must have got this. I think I got this as part of a package when I bought one of the other games in the collection, and it does come with it. So I thought I'm never going to get rid of it. It's a SNES game. It's staying. And that is NBA All-Star Challenge. Now it's just a one-on-one, I'm assuming, one-on-one basketball game. And you got some classics in there, All-Star Challenges. I can't read the names because it don't have any on here. No. Actually it does, but I can't read the names. To be honest, I've never heard of any of them anyway. But still, it's a decent one-on-one basketball game. And it was part of a package, and I thought, I'm never going to get rid of it. Not one of my favourite games, of course. As you can see, I've got no plastic cover for this one, which is, I've just run out, so I've just gotten on, so I'll have to pick some more up. But still a decent game to add to the collection. Another sports one. I'm not a sports fanatic by any means, but still, it's a game. It's a Super NES game, and it's staying in the collection. So that's NBA All-Star Challenge. Okay, going on to the last game of the collection before the latest ones, and then that's it, guys. I'm done. And the last one was a Fishy Face. If anybody's heard of the Fishy Face website, this is a guy who does reproductions of classic games and hard to find games. This game is a very expensive game on the Super Famicom, but I've seen this for 30 quid, and it's pretty funky, and it's a decent little title to have, and that is Magical Pop, in a nice funky pink cover. Anybody who's heard of Magical Pop, it's like a nice cutesy side-scrolling action platforming game, but boy, this is expensive on the Super Famicom. Just can't understand why, but still a fantastic little platform game for what it is, and I'm quite happy to have picked it up like this from Fishy Face. There's the logo. They do have an official website. They did bring out a double black edition of the Castlevania games. You had Castlevania 4 and Castle Dracula X on one cart, and I missed out on it, and I would have absolutely loved to have that, believe me. So hopefully you'll do a rerun of that. But still, this one is a great little title, and I'd rather have paid the £30 for it as is than paid the £350 that it is for the Super Famicom. But I'm happy with this one. Great little platforming game. And, you know, not everything's original. And sometimes I'm quite happy to have this game as it is. Because, as I say, cost. You know what I mean? I don't really want to pay £350 for a game I want to play, but I don't want to pay that money for a game. I don't want it that much, put it that way. But for £30, yeah, all day long. So that is the last of the games of the current collection, and I'm just going to show you now the last few that I picked up recently, and that will be the lot, guys. So that's Magical Pop. Okay, so we are on to the last 10 games, guys. Put them over there. And if you're wondering what they are, that is my cleaning kit for the Super Nintendo, and that is a boxed joypad, which I've had for a long time. I used that. I've actually tried that, and it does work. And they're quite expensive to find. They are nowadays, the cleaning kits. So it's worth getting one if you can get your hands on one. Anyway, let's get back to the last 10 games, guys. And just a quick reminder of the games that I bought. So all the games now are up to date, and you've seen everything in the collection. So firstly, Equinox. Absolutely love this back in the day. Got this PAL originally. Love the style of gameplay. This is Solsist, if you've ever played on the NES. But this is basically Solsist 2, but it's called Equinox. They're changing now to Equinox, and it's a fantastic top-down puzzle action game. If you've ever played the likes of Head Over Heels or Batman the Adventure on the Commodore 64 and the Spectrum, same sort of game style, and absolutely love this. But this game, the story of getting all the way to the boss before the last on the pirate ship, I got all the way to the last boss, and I took a wrong turn and went into a wrong section of the game, and it went into a loop, and I kept on dropping off the thing, and I could never load it back to anywhere previous to that point, and I was stuck there forever. So I just never ever went back to the game. One day I'm going to do this game. I got before the last boss, one boss before the last boss, so I will get this done and dusted one of the days. Cracking little title, definitely nostalgic for me, and definitely one I'm glad to have back in the collection. That's Equinox. Next one of I think I need separation anxiety. That is what I need, and I'll have all the Spider-Man ones. And this is Maximum Carnage, Spider-Man and Venom. Nice side-scrolling beat 'em up action. Loads of different characters that are in this game. Not an easy game, believe me, for what it is. Fantastic looking game, but it's hard. It's not easy. And this is the standard grey edition. You did have a red cartridge, and I do want the special edition of this. There was like a big box variant, and it was remember back in the day, the shopping channel MVC. They actually brought out a collector's box set, MVC collector's box set, with this in the red cartridge, and you had pins in there and all that. I'd love that, but it's big money nowadays to try and find that. But still, I'm well happy with this, and this is in absolutely. Now these are all these games I've had from one guy named John. Alex knows who he is, but they're in absolute A1 condition. Not a blemish on these games. But yeah, cracking game. Not an easy game, and that's Maximum Carnage, Spider-Man and Venom. Next one is a boxing game I've always wanted, and it's not a bad game. It's tough as nails, though, and it's really hard on the wrists, and that is Legends of the Ring, or Boxing Legends of the Ring. And it's a good perspective the way it works. It's not a bad little fighting game. No Super Punch-Out by any means. Super Punch-Out is the best Super Nintendo boxing game there is on the system. But this, it's more realistic. Some classic early 80s fights, early 80s boxers from the day. Even further back than that. But it's such a... risk taker, trust me. It's not an easy game to play, but great perspective, and definitely one to have, and I've always wanted in the collection. So that is the Boxing Legends of the Ring. Right, next one, top-down shooter. Not the best version of this game by any means, but still a really good game. I can get through the first level easy, and also just super hard straight away, and that's Raiden Trad. Part of the Raiden series. great top-down shooter. As I say, I get through the first level, think, well, yeah, this ain't bad. I'll be able to get somewhere on this, and I get to the second level, and it absolutely hands me my ass. It's as simple as that. As I said, shoot 'em ups ain't my forte, but I will give them my best shot. But there you go, guys. That is Raiden Trad. Not a bad top-down shooter. Not the best in the Trad series, the Raiden series, put it that way. Right, next one. All-time favourite game in the arcade. This game doesn't do it any justice by any means, but it's still a game I've wanted, and I've got it on the Famicom as well. As a different name. It does have a different name in Japan. It's called Dragon's Magic. But over in the US and the UK, it's called, of course, the classic Dragon's Lair. As I say, it's a nice side-scrolling action platformer. It's not very easy, and it's very fiddly with the controls. Awkward as hell to play. But I just love the game, Dragon's Lair. If I could have an arcade machine, I'd have one tomorrow. That and a Star Wars one, I'll be quite happy with. Obviously, with of course Donkey Kong next to it. But there you go. One day, you never know. But as I say, love the franchise of Dragon's Lair, the arcade especially. I know it's not to everybody's taste, and it's simplistic and it's left, blah blah blah. But the nostalgia for me, walking into the arcade, first thing you hear is that, you know, Dragon's Lair. It's just like you pick out certain arcade machines as you walk in there, and that one just like, there, where is it? I want to get to it on a plate. And I always loved the game, and always will do. But as I say, cracking little game. Not an easy game to play. Doesn't do the franchise any justice, to be honest with you. But still, beautiful looking artwork and fantastic condition. And I'm glad I got it. That's Dragon's Lair. Right, next one. Great one-on-one beat 'em up. A good film, franchise film, film tying game that ties into a film very well. Not an easy game yet again, and that is of course the Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. Not a bad game at all. Very, very difficult. The control systems they do take a while to learn, and once you get the hang of it, it plays very well. But the last boss is an absolute ball breaker. He's so difficult to beat. It's untrue. I just cannot do it, and it's like if you can see that guy there, he's like a samurai warrior with a massive sword, and he's so difficult to beat. It takes absolutely ages to knock his energy down, and when you got it down, he gets back up again, and you got to kick his ass again. It's not an easy game to do, but fantastic for the time. It's still a great game to play now, but very, very difficult, that I can say. But well, happy to have that in the collection again, and that is Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. Okay, next one. I showed you this a few weeks, in fact before the lockdown, I'm sure it was, and that's 2020 Baseball. 2020 Super Baseball to be precise. This is a Neo Geo game of the same name, and I bought this because this was going really cheap. It was about 25 quid, and it's in decent condition, and I do like the other Neo Geo games that are crossed over, and I've got a few more fighting games than obviously anything else, but still cracking little baseball game. Not an easy one to beat. I ain't beat nobody, and I tried and tried and tried, and you do well, and all of a sudden they just come back and whop your ass. So this is probably more of a two-player experience for a decent challenge, because the computer players are tough to beat. And yeah, well, happy to have it. So that's 2020 Super Baseball. And then the next one, another classic arcade top-down racer. Same vein as Super Sprint, but this is of course 4x4, and this is Super Off-Road. Fantastic top-down racing game. Really good conversions on any conversion you play. Like this one, I've got the Super, I've got the Master System version. They all play really, really quite well. And as I say, brilliant arcade machine for the day, and still is worth a crack when you've got 4 players playing it. And a brilliant little title. Well, happy to have that. And that is Super Off-Road. And then next we have a platform I still haven't played yet. I really need to play. This is a Bitman Brothers game. And I spoke about this recently, and that is of course Gods. This is supposed to be a very good platform puzzle game. And as I said previously, I think they have remastered this, but I'm not too sure what system it's for. But I'm glad to have the original. I really, really want to give this a go and give this game a try, see how good it is. And yeah, just in general, just play it and enjoy it. So I might put that in after I've done this video, I think. But there you go, guys. That's Gods. Well, looking forward to giving that a go. Just one of them games I thought I've got to buy it to give it a go, because I've never owned this game before. So, you know what? Give it a go. Right, last and for sure the last game. And that's it, guys. All done. I think we're going to leave the PAL games because we're 1 hour now, and I think this is enough. But this was a free game that was given to me, a sealed game, never been opened, never been touched, and that is Sports Illustrated, and that's Championship Football and Baseball. Now, I'll play the baseball. The baseball looks pretty good, but you got American football. Mark, I don't know how to play American football, unfortunately. I know it's bad. I know you got like 3 touchdowns, and the further you get, and then I don't know, something like that anyway. But you can fill me in when we have a beer next time, Mark. You can fill me in on how good that game actually is. But baseball, yeah, I'll play all day long, but American football. But as I say, for free and absolutely pristine, brand new condition, nobody's going to turn down a Super Nintendo game for that. So there it is, guys. That is all my games up to date from top to bottom. And all the latest games that I've got. Now, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what? I don't care how long this video lasts. You don't have to watch it all in one go, do you? It's as simple as that. You can do. But then again, if you don't want to, watch it in bits and pieces. And I ain't done a video in 2 weeks, so sod it. I'm going to carry on. I'm going to show you the PAL games that I've got. The ones that I had when I very first bought the Super Nintendo back in the day, and the games that are my favourites for that system. That's why I've just never got rid of them. Don't know why. So let's start with them, guys, and let's start with the first, which of course is F-Zero. Yeah, the PAL F-Zero was the first game that I had for the system, and the artwork on the PAL game is great. Really, really, I love the artwork on it. Much more cartoony. A vibrant box. I really, really do like this. And this is the game I used to come home from school, stick it on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and play till 10 o'clock at night. It's just on it all the time. Absolutely adored this game. And the game that started it all for me, to be honest with you, put me on the road to collecting Super Nintendo. So there's the classic F-Zero. And then the next one was, of course, one of the greatest fighting games ever made. People are going to say it. I'm going to say, yes, it is the greatest arcade game ever, but there are other fighting games I prefer. But you couldn't get a better version than this. And that is, of course, the original Street Fighter on the Super Nintendo. This just, when the Super Nintendo and this come out, and it exploded. That was it. The Super Nintendo ruled, and without a doubt the greatest conversion of Street Fighter on any computer back in the day. The Mega Drive did good. They did good, but it weren't no Super Nintendo, I'm afraid. This was the bee's knees in the fighting game, and especially for Street Fighter. Absolutely classic game. Always remember the day buying this and playing this. It was just mega to play the original arcade game, and such a well done version of it. Absolutely brilliant. But that's a classic Street Fighter. But I think it got a little bit better from there. It got a little bit better, much better in fact, when they released this one, which is Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Now, when they released this one, it just got better for me, because you could have all 4 bosses and all the characters, and also it was turbo, so you had 3 different settings for turbo, so the game sped up immensely, and it made a massive difference to the game, and much more challenging, much more playable, and I absolutely loved it. Absolutely love this even more. Now, I've had this on PAL, but I did originally buy it back in the day on the American one, which I've got up there. I've got all the Street Fighters on the American one. Go back in the old videos and check it out. But to get this, the first 2 Street Fighters, yes, absolutely. the bees knees to have these, and definitely the best two SNES fighting games at the time when they come out. Absolutely brilliant. So that's Super Street Fighter Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Then this one is original. This is the original game I bought back in the day. I prefer the American version, but this was, well, it's just never leaving. It's never leaving the collection, and that is Super Probotector Alien Rebels. And this was the one. I had this one, and there's another game I'm going to show you which I've re-picked up again because I did. Well, we'll talk about the story in a bit. But this, an absolute classic. Everybody's played Super Probotector. It's Super Contra in America, of course. A little bit of better design because I do like the army, the soldiers rather than the robots. But the game is no different in any way, shape or form. Absolute classic game. And this is to say, this is my original from back in the day. When I bought it from Woolworths. Was it Woolworths? No, I bought this one from Curry's. I bought this from Curry's, as well as the other one I'm going to show you. Absolutely classic game. And just having the original, you know, it's just a nice bit of nostalgia for me to have this back. Just to have it in the collection and never have got rid of it. That's the thing. And well happy that classic Super Probotector Alien Rebels, the original one. And last but not least, now the original one, my original of this game, Alex Blutonic 78 now owns it in his collection because I sent it his way a good few years ago now. And it's in good hands. And I know it's not going to ever get left that collection. It's going to get looked after. I do miss it. I'm not going to say I don't miss it because I do. But I re-bought it because I wanted it back in the collection because it's one of my favourite games of all time. And I had to have it back because I missed the game in the collection so much. And that is, of course, Super Castlevania. Super Castlevania 4. This game, it just oozed. I remember buying this and I bought Aliens 3 on the Mega Drive. And Aliens 3 just gathered dust for weeks. I just left it until this game's complete. I was officially hooked on this game. And this became, and still is, my favourite side-scrolling platform action game ever made. Super Castlevania. It will never be touched. Unless they bring out something that's going to beat this, which is never going to happen. This game will be my favourite Castlevania game of all time, without question. And to have it back, this one back again in the collection, you know, it's something I shouldn't have got rid of in the first place. I'm going to put it out there, but I know full well, as I say, Alex is looking after it and it's in good hands, and I'm happy that he's got it and he's enjoying it. But I've got it back, and I'm well happy to have it. So that's it, guys. That's the final PAL game, Super Castlevania. And then, I don't know if I've showed this, but this is in American, this is PAL. And this is Mario Paint, another big box one. I never owned Mario Paint back in the day, but I thought, you know what, I want to get it. I did want the American version. Is this the American version? No, it's the PAL version. Yeah, there you go, PAL version. Because I've just seen the blue mouse, and I thought, no, it can't be the American PAL version, but it is. It is the PAL version. But I thought, being a PAL version, I'll keep it anyway, because it's part of the Super Nintendo collection, and it needed to be had. And well, happy to have it. And there it is, guys. That is your lot. That is every Super Nintendo game I own until it gets bigger and I add new additions to it, and hopefully that ain't going to be too far off. It might not be this year now. It might roll over into next year, because obviously with the way things are, I'm not going to physically go out looking for Super Nintendo games at the moment. I've got other things on my mind, other collections I want to continue with. If you've got a very good eye, you can see that there's a collection of Hit Squad games there, which I'm going to do another video on shortly, because I've got a good few more to show you. I can put up another 15 games for you, so I'll do that shortly, but that's another video. But this has lasted too long. This is 1 hour, nearly 10 minutes. If you stuck with me, thank you very much, guys. You are stars. Much appreciated your support for the channel. Give it a thumbs up. Do leave comments. absolutely appreciate every single one of you guys who have subbed to my channel. If you haven't subbed, give me a thumbs up and sub, be great. To add more, and hopefully you enjoy the content that I stick with the next few months. And as I say, I'm not going away. Sometimes I have this I can't be arsed mode, but it's only because I'm just being lazy. It's as simple as that. But guys, I'm going to end it here because it's 1 hour and 10 minutes. So enjoy this video any which way you can. And as always, I am Snake7. Keep playing, guys, and remember, always keep watching. All the best.